USAID pressured advertisers to boycott any media that was not left-wing. Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's, and this is GBN Originals. In addition to propping up far-left corporate media outlets like the BBC with recent taxpayer funds, recent investigations revealed that the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, has funneled substantial taxpayer funds into a global media operation through a non-governmental organisation called Internews Network. This organisation has been described as a key player in what critics term the censorship industrial complex, raising large concerns about media independence and freedom of speech. Internews Network has reportedly received $472.6 million from USAID over 17 years, accounting for 87% of its funding. Additional contributions from the US Department of State bring its total government funding to a whopping £529.6 million during that period. So since 2008, when electronic records began, more than 95% of their budget has been supplied by the US government. What's the US taxpayer, isn't it, really? And since Trump's first term victory, funding has doubled as the deep state poured billions into combating so-called misinformation and disinformation targeting conservative media worldwide, all under the guise of saving democracy. The organisation claims to have worked with 4,291 media outlets globally, producing 4,799 hours of broadcast in a single year and reaching up to 778 million people. It's almost like indoctrination on the largest possible scale, isn't it? It has also trained more than 9,000 journalists and supported initiatives aimed at combating so-called misinformation on social media. So it's training the journalists who are only going to be pumping out the kind of content that they want. Otherwise, they'll lose their funding. I mean, good grief, it's mafia style, isn't it? So Jan Burgolt is CEO of Internews and apparently earns an annual salary of $451,000. It's nice work if you can get it. Burgolt's background includes roles at prominent media outlets Wired and, we need a drum roll for this one, everyone, The Guardian. Yes, she's also known for advocating global advertising exclusion lists, which critics argue amount to pressuring advertisers to boycott conservative or alternative media outlets deemed as spreading disinformation. So someone who used to work for The Guardian gets to dictate which companies should receive advertising, essentially. Funny that, isn't it? Burgolt's ties to influential figures such as Hillary Clinton, evidenced by her launch of a $10 million fund at the Clinton Global Initiative in 2023, have further fueled concerns about the organisation's impartiality. It's argued that Internews operates a state-sponsored propaganda network under the guise of promoting free media. Yeah. The organisation's activities include shaping public discourse in areas of strategic importance to US foreign policy. These are places like, any guesses? Ukraine and Armenia. Its initiatives often involve advocating specific policies on media law and training local journalists, raising serious questions about whether these efforts genuinely support independent journalism or promote US-centric narratives. Internews has been linked to social media censorship initiatives as well, of course it has. At Davos, Burgolt says that global advertisers should prioritise spending ad dollars on good news.
Disinformation makes money, and that's one of the, we need to follow that money, and we need to work with in particularly the global advertising industry, that a lot of those dollars go to pretty bad content. And so you can work really hard on exclusion lists or inclusion lists to sort of really try to focus ad dollars and challenge the global advertising industry all around the world to focus their ad dollars towards the good news and information, the accurate and relevant news and information.
What's been interpreted as an attempt to marginalise dissenting voices in the media landscape. This aligns with broader concerns about the role of USAID-funded programmes in influencing global information ecosystems, and the lack of transparency surrounding Internews' operations has led to a load of criticism. Key details about its leadership and board members have been scrubbed from its website, although archived versions reveal connections to prominent Democratic Party donors and business figures. The organisation also operates through 6 subsidiaries, including one based in the Cayman Islands, known as a offshore financial centre, tax haven will be another word for it, raising further questions about its financial practices. The revelations about USAID's funding of Internews highlight broader issues related to government influence over media narratives. Boycott's advocacy for global advertising exclusion lists exemplifies how economic pressure can be used as a tool for censorship. So by encouraging advertisers to prioritise spending on good news, defined subjectively by organisations like Internews, which again I'll just repeat was fronted up by a woman who used to work for The Guardian, alternative media outlets face financial marginalisation, don't they? Things like advertising bans, an attempt basically to financially strangle someone out of business. And smear them along the way as well. Because if you're on one of these exclusion lists, normally they'll say, oh, well, they must be far right then, mustn't they? So actually there's a bit of defamation going on there. This tactic effectively limits diverse viewpoints in the public sphere. Again, I would politely suggest it's a bit like the mafia. USAID has a long history of involvement in regime change and destabilisation efforts under the guise of promoting democracy and development. The agency's funding of Internews aligns with this pattern, suggesting that its activities may serve broader US foreign policy objectives rather than purely humanitarian goals. Well, ABC News described USAID as in a state of ongoing turmoil and chaos. Well, it is now, isn't it? A senior USAID executive told ABC, the warp speed of this mafia-like takeover has shaken USAID staff to the core. Interesting about who they think the mafia are in that case. Absolutely not the people who are trying to financially bankrupt their dissenting voices, put them on exclusion lists, put them out of business, or influence a load of people all over the world. No, they're not the mafia. The people trying to clean up USAID, they're the mafia. Okay, then. It's also been found that Bill Gates has funneled $30 million into USAID. This has been since 2011, according to recently revealed documents. The funds came through the Bill and Melania Gates Foundation under the guise of global health challenges. But after Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, known as DOGE, investigated USAID, Gates is going around to corporate media outlets to push back against these investigations. The case of USAID and Internews Network underscores the complex interplay between government funding, media influence, and censorship. So while organisations like Internews claim to champion free media, internet rights, democratic values, their financial dependence on the US taxpayer funds raises questions about their true independence, doesn't it? Are they not just going to spout whatever the people funding them want them to spout? These revelations provide a stark reminder of the challenges facing free speech and independent journalism in an increasingly polarised world. It also teaches you to just look a little bit deeper, because without knowing this now, you will be forgiven for thinking that you were being presented with straight, objective facts by a genuinely well-meaning independent news source, when in reality, it appears that the opposite might be true. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Patrick Christie's. Don't forget to subscribe to GB News YouTube for more.